Will Work for Patients, episode 42.
There's so much more that goes into your health and wellness than just the food that you eat and the exercise that you do. And once I learned that, it was life-changing for me. And luckily now I can be life-changing for my clients as well. People are very nervous for what does change mean for them? What will they have to give up? What will their life look like? You may have a patient that comes in, they get adjusted once, and you've just sort of saved the day. They had this pain and the pain is now gone. But the pain will likely come back because it probably came from something that they're doing all the time. It takes a lot of time and persistence and dedication to keep yourself on track. And so if you just come in for 1 session, 2 sessions, 5 sessions, it's almost always not enough. And in the case of chiropractors or other wellness professionals, it's knowing that your health is unfortunately going to backtrack if you don't give it upkeep.
What up there, Will Workers, and welcome to another round of Practice Explosion. Today, I'm going to rock out another killer episode with a guest I can't wait to share with you, who's going to show you how to relate in this new culture and new healthcare. Do you have trouble relating to people on health these days? Are you finding this generation a higher degree of difficulty to close? Are patients not staying with you as long as they should? Is compliance to care headed in a downward direction? Well, you're not alone. You may think you need a fresh closing line, a secret code, or some magic word or phrase that will make it all go off again, but that's not what you need at all. You need a new approach to care itself, to getting people under that care, and a translator or liaison of sort to bridge the gap between generations, philosophies, and approaches. And do I have a guest who is going to show you how it's done? So carve out the time, forget about the woes of the week, and listen hard to me and my guest as we bring it with a mega dose of awesome. Today's episode is entitled Kale with a Side of Fries, Balancing Care with Life. Here we go.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Will Work for Patients, a free advice podcast dedicated to help chiropractors get on purpose and grow their practices. Get ready to tune in and turn up the volume of your practice marketing. And now, turning up the volume on his mic, big-time chiropractic advocate and your host, here is Frank Sardella.
Oh man, that's me. Yeah, baby. It's time to get down to it. That's right. I'm Frank Sardella, and I'm so excited to be with you here today for another titillating episode of Will Work for Patients. We're about to have a good time with our most special guest today, who will teach you quite a bit about what it means to care for others and help them achieve wellness. And I'll try not to gush over her, but I make no promises. Folks, today's episode is entitled Kale with a Side of Fries, Balancing Care with Life. And this is one for the record books because you're about to learn about a concept in care that really caters to the modern day world and the people living in it. Here's a lesson we can all learn from someone who innovated rather than balked at the status quo, those attitudes of those with health issues and who want to achieve wellness. And yes, you will learn how there is a way to reach everyone if you're willing to change your view on how it's done. And today's guest is definitely going to show us how. But before we get into all that, just want to do a quick plug for the Sunday morning hustle. Yeah, that's right. I've been talking about it, and I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to go away, you guys, until everyone's on that call. I can have up to 1,000 clients on that call, so I want to see you on it. Don't know what the Sunday morning hustle is? Well, listen, I hustle 7 days a week, but my Sunday mornings are special. I'm up pretty much at the crack of dawn, 5 a.m. every Sunday morning when it's quiet, no one's out on the roads, no one's around, really quiet for a couple of hours, and I hustle and I get my week cranking and going before I get in the trenches and start taking grenades, much like you do when you're in your practice. So I want to share my Sunday mornings with you. Our subscription coaching call is every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and you can get on that call and hustle. If you want to know more about it, please email me at frank@screeningexperts.com, and I'm going to hook you up royally. I have a free replay on demand of the premiere installment of the Sunday Morning Hustle, which is entitled Moving the Story Forward. And let me tell you, if you're stuck in the trenches in your practice right now, you need to move that story forward. You need to even define what the story is in the first place, create a storyboard for it, and get it moving. And this is the way to do it. You're going to cash in on my energy, my enthusiasm, my innovation, and my drive, and we're going to do it together every Sunday. So we have some special deals. We have a trial month offer for you, but make sure you get that replay on demand and check it out. And I invite you to join all of us. We're having a great time every Sunday. And now, before I get into the rest of this episode, and I'm really excited about today's guest, I would like to take a break to give props to those who are bringing you today's episode of Will Work for Patients. When you're on fire, people will come to watch you burn. That's not only the title of episode 39, but a direct quote referenced by Dr. Jerry Dreesen, Pacific Northwest chiropractor who succeeded, failed, and rose again, mastering a digital age. When I met him, he not only shared his success, he told me how he took his secret sauce and developed it into 5 distinct marketing assets any chiropractor can use to boom any practice. Still practicing, Dr. Jerry helps docs and pros grow with precise marketing techniques. What I like is that he shares his tools that have worked best for him time and again, literally to make every square foot of his practice earn revenue and top patient results. From exploiting reviews to capturing leads, I can tell you Dr. Jerry has the practice growth formula in hand. See for yourself. Visit dcmarketingproducts.com/podcast to get a free Huffington Post article written about you just for being a listener of Will Work for Patients. Let my good friend Dr. Jerry boost your credibility and give you some free marketing advice too. Visit dcmarketingproducts.com/podcast now. That's dcmarketingproducts/podcast. All right, we're back, folks, and the excitement is no less than when I left you. Let me tell you about my guest today. I've been invited to one of the largest BNI groups as a guest of one of my affiliate partners in New York City and made a ton of interesting contacts. One of them was my guest today. Her level of enthusiasm and drive, her business savvy, and her entrepreneurial spirit were contagious from our first meeting. And her unique outlook on health is not only innovative and spirited, it is exactly what's needed in this modern-day climate, especially among new thinking of the day when it comes to wellness, fitness, and health. After failed diets and 10 years of professional unfulfillment, my guest left her career in sales and advertising to pursue a healthier, happier lifestyle as a certified holistic coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. Today, she's the founder of a private practice that works with individuals, groups, and companies to transform their lives with small, meaningful steps that make the health-life balance accessible, manageable, and enjoyable. And the name of that company happens to be the title of this episode. Yes, Kale with a side of fries. Is that not awesome? I get goosebumps every time I say that name. It is so freaking awesome. But there's more. Are you starting to get the idea of why I wanted her on the show? The services she provides are incredibly dynamic and as diverse as her clients' needs and spot on. She uses health, wellness, and nutrition as pathways for improving overall quality of life. Every individual is supported by a customized program that provides accountability and clarity where they're needed most. According to her, life is meant to be nutritious and delicious, not an oxymoron, but a philosophy that, as it turns out, is quite workable and loved by her vast client base, and she prides herself on helping people achieve that balance every day. She's a true model of how modern wellness is achieved. Ask what she does, she'll tell you she helps busy people find balance between their health and lifestyle, regardless of how impossible they may seem. She maintains that perfection is unrealistic and each person is unique, and people must do what is in the best interest of their body, not their friend or not a celebrity they admire. She describes her coaching style as that of a cheerleader, supporting her clients, keeping them accountable, all while helping them actually achieve habit changes that stick. Surely a superpower all of us wish we had, Will Workers? Here's a philosophy that folds right into a corporate setting with the cubicle generation, a demographic you will also be interested in knowing more about. But whether it's corporate coaching, one-on-one coaching, or running her sugar and detox programs, one thing is for sure, Will Workers, she brings it. Continuing on with a theme you may have noticed about talking out of a deep-seated purpose, my guest says she is effective because she's been where her clients are and have made it to the other side. Does that sound familiar, folks? Come on, that's right out of my story, episode 1 right there. The side where I know what's best for me, she continues. She teaches self-care practices, reminds clients on the importance of self-love, and increases their confidence in choosing to move forward with a healthier and happier way of life. Here I go again. Why do I always do this? I'm gushing again, but I really can't help it, especially this time. You guys know that I'm just too damn interested in my guest, especially this one. So let me just stop all the gushing and get right to it and introduce my guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Will Work for Patients, Tracey Levy. Tracey, welcome to the show. Say hello.
Hi, Frank. Thanks. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And man, I think, Tracey, is it too bold for me to say that we hit it off from our first meeting, or is that a little bit too bold?
No. That is spot on. I actually approached you after the first BNI meeting and knew that I had to meet with you and start working with you in some capacity.
Yeah, the feeling was mutual. I really had to talk to you after that, especially after just hearing the name of your business. You had me at Kale with a side of fries, I have to tell you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. So, listen, I always gush over my guests, and as you can see, I left you limited room. I probably gave more of your bio than perhaps I should have, but I always like to give my guests the opportunity to really tell the story from their viewpoint. So I was just wondering if you could just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your journey, especially with regard to your personal experience and what really led you up to Kale with a side of fries.
So I was a typical sales girl doing that corporate life for about 8 years in New York City, and really unhappy with the jobs that I had, with my professional life, I should say. It was unfulfilling, and I knew that there had to be more for me. I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was really my goal for the future. And I remember my dad saying to me, you can only, get assistance from us and help from us if you actually go back to school, find a passion, and figure out a way that you can actually start a business. So that was really important to me, because once I had his sort of green light and go ahead in that, I was like, all right, what am I good at? So I actually had a chalkboard up in my old apartment and did pros and cons of what am I good at? What do I like from sales? What do I not like from sales? And it sort of led me to figuring out that my love for health and wellness for myself was exactly what I needed to do to be fulfilled in my professional life, to teach onto others. And so I basically took all of my passion that I had for myself, which was I like to cook, I love to eat pretty healthy, and I love to work out. I've run 3 half marathons.
Wow.
And yes, and hoping to do more in the future. And I sort of decided that I wanted to help people. Sales was unfulfilling to me because I wasn't helping people. I was selling things to people. And being able to go back to school and learn all about nutrition and wellness, and there's so much more that goes into your health and wellness than just the food that you eat and the exercise that you do. And once I learned that, it was life-changing for me, and luckily now I can be life-changing for my clients as well.
Wow, Tracey, thank you for that. And such a mouthful you said. What a great story. And Will Workers, I can't even tell you, we already have takeaways here. It's almost the end of the episode practically. But, it seems that your support structure, Tracey, probably played a big role in this. It sounds like you had some encouragement there, which is always a plus. But then Tracey didn't stop there. She actually threw up the chalkboard, folks. And here's something to learn from, too. Slap those pros and cons up there about what you're doing. Question yourself. I mentioned a couple episodes ago about having just completed reading Why Now Is the Time to Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk, and how he was talking about that if you're not buzzing to get out of bed in the morning and whatever, something's wrong with what you're doing. Tracey has applied that all the way, and I think has set an example for all of us to follow. And then finally looked at what her passions were, which were cooking, eating healthy, working out, running half marathons, and then said, well, how can I monetize that? And then, of course, was able to put that together, obviously, which we're going to get into in a few minutes. You were able to turn it into a service that does help people, because her desire to help people was there, not just sell people, but help people indeed. But I'm sure, as we'll get into in a moment, Tracey, probably your sales background came in a little bit handy, because I'm willing to bet it was a little bit of a wake-up call in dealing with the wellness profession now, that you actually have to sell people on doing well.
Yes, and I will say that it's challenging because people aren't always comfortable making change. Change is very scary. And when people hear health coach, they think, oh, she's never going to let me drink coffee or eat sugar or have chocolate ever again. So they're very nervous about what's to come. So it's a totally different kind of sell, if you will, but it's not really sales to me the way that it used to be in my old jobs.
Absolutely. There is passion that goes along with it. And I'm not sure if you discovered this, but what most salespeople find out when they finally sell something they really believe in is really it's the passion that sells, and selling becomes so easy after that compared to how it used to be when you were selling something that maybe particularly wasn't your passion. So you do have to sell people on being well, though. And that's kind of what I want to get into, because what I do is predicated on going out and meeting people. And healthcare professionals, we commonly find the most quote, qualified people for care, particularly with chiropractors and other wellness professionals in the corporate setting. The stress levels are at an all-time high. People are not having time to nourish themselves, or they're being taught incorrectly how to eat, how to exercise, and whatever. So there's so many health problems that we find out there. And I'm curious what you found too, because you have a lot of corporate programs. Let's say having experience in dealing with some of these, as I call them, cubicle jockeys, and being of the age group that they are, because I'm finding a lot of millennials are running our corporations now. I see a majority of, let's say, 23 to 27-year-olds. What would you say has been your experience now with that demographic? Because it sort of is a new age right now in sort of the thinking and the approach to wellness or getting well or health problems and how they're treated and whatever. What's been your experience with that?
Well, I think you nailed it on the head by saying that there's miseducation, and that's exactly how I would define it. I think that the health industry, has low calorie and low fat and natural this, and it's super confusing for people, and they don't know where to get their information from, because, you walk into Whole Foods or you walk into your local grocery store and you want to trust what's on the package. You want to trust the marketing. And so that's the first thing that I think is really confusing for people. I find that with millennials, they may be slightly better educated than some of the older folks, because those folks are a little more stuck in their ways. I ate X, Y, and Z growing up my whole life. Why is it different today? So it's slightly different. But what I find really interesting with the millennials and just the younger group is that they survive on caffeine and sugar.
Yeah.
And you ask, what do you have for breakfast? Breakfast? I don't have time for breakfast. I grab my coffee and I'm on the go, and maybe I don't even eat lunch. I have spoken with so many people who skip so many meals, and they just eat quick little snacks, whatever, Kind bars and, another cup of coffee and whatever the vending machine in their office has. And you're missing out on such key nutrients, and you're not giving your body anything to work with, so your metabolism slows, and you end up crashing. And in the corporate setting, that's what I deal with the most, is the rise and the fall. You get the surge of energy, and then you totally crash. And what do you do when you crash? You go for more of the same. You go for more sugar, more caffeine. So it's this constant up and down, kind of like a wave that they're experiencing throughout the day. And I think that, combined with the miseducation of what is actually healthy, or, it doesn't really matter what kind of bread I have or what sort of cheese. And then I could keep going, but there's so much then of how many folks do you know that you've sat across a dinner table from and they unbutton their pants afterwards, or they're feeling sort of that, right? That sense of like, ugh. And there's that too, where people aren't noticing the symptoms, that they're unwell. And our body speaks to us, and not everyone listens.
I couldn't agree with you more, Tracey, and it's very timely that you said that. Episode 40, Will Workers, I keep referencing it. Back in episode 40, Holly Ash, if you haven't listened to the episode, the premise of that episode was an article she wrote entitled "Body Positivity is Killing Women," where she talked about the whole body positivity movement that is saying it's okay to be obese or overweight, and it's really missing the boat on the fact that being overweight is actually a symptom, just like many of these other things I'm sure Tracey and every one of us runs into. And Tracey, I like what you said about the rise and fall, like a wave in the corporate setting, and that roller coaster people get on. And I love how you really isolated it down to those two factors, caffeine and sugar, and that's what nutrition is to them, what they're living on, what they consider food. It's Starbucks in the morning and Red Bull in the afternoon when you crash.
Yeah.
Get that second cup of Starbucks, or you add an extra shot to it, or you're drinking Monster Energy or 5-Hour Energy, and the marketing is supporting it. I can see where that is the challenge, and that is the challenge our chiropractors and other wellness professionals are facing right now. But I think it's good to be able to define it. And Will Workers, I think if there's anything to take away from this, is how Tracey has really just very clearly and concisely and simply defined that if you look at it that way, the answers start to seem very, very logical. And I think we can see where this is going, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. But I think that if I isolate one word out of what you said, marketing. Marketing is the enemy of education. And I'm going to coin that, and I'm going to use that all over social media now. You can quote me on having said that. Marketing is the enemy of education. These people living off the vending machine stuff, the kind bars are being marketed as complete nutrition. That's what people think health is. They think what's in advertisements is health, not about how their body works. So Tracey, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing. I'm
Sure.
sitting here, nodding. And one thing that I teach a lot of my clients, or really all of my clients, is how to read nutrition labels. And that's another piece of sort of the marketing problem, I guess I would say, is that people don't know where to look when they look at a nutrition label. So you think you're getting something natural, you think you're getting a low cal or a low fat, but what I always tell all my clients is your eye should first go to sugar. Wow. And you should know, if a bar or if some kind of packaged goods has a ton of sugar in it, it doesn't matter how many calories. It doesn't matter if you're trying to follow a 1,200 calorie diet or trying to cut some fat out of your diet. It matters how much sugar you're taking in. That affects more than just your energy, but significant effect on your energy and your day-to-day performance in your job and in your life.
And that brings up what I really want to know, because right now what we're looking at in wellness care is we're looking at challenges. We're looking at barriers, right? It's not that we don't know how to heal people. It is that we don't know how to get over the barriers that are keeping people from healing themselves. And what I'd like to know from you, since you've been in the trenches, especially with these corporate millennials and so on, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in building your coaching business from the coaching standpoint, like your biggest challenge in getting through to people?
The fear. People are very nervous for what does change mean for them? What will they have to give up? What will their life look like? What will their friends think? What will their significant other think? Will they be supported? And it all is encompassed by this big fear of change. And change is scary. And I find that the folks that are the most unhealthy and the folks that are the most at risk for diabetes, heart conditions, high cholesterol, the list goes on, those are the people that are the most fearful of what it means to work with a coach.
Absolutely.
And I'll have these amazing conversations with people. We'll really get to the crux of what they need and what they want, and they seem so ready, and then the fear sets in. And it's, I'll let you know tomorrow. I'm not ready now. I don't have the money. Money's my favorite objection because it's never about the money.
Never.
You and I have actually talked about this as well.
Absolutely. We've had a few conversations about it.
We have, and it's true. It's never about the money. It's fear. The fear creeps in. Will I be able to do it? If I make these changes, does that mean that my life has changed forever? And usually the answer is yes, and it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
But they're so scared because they don't know. They don't see the other side. I can see the other side for them, so I know what it means. But it's really interesting to hear, every excuse that someone comes up with. Even, by the way, folks that I do work with. I have lots of clients that we work together. We've been working together, and they lie. They fudge the truth. Oh, well, I had to break this diet, or I don't even like to call it a diet because I don't believe in diets, but whatever the dietary plan that we've come up with that's right for them. And they find all the reasons in the book why this week I was one way, but next week I'm going to get back on track. And I hear that a lot. And I will tell one funny story that I was working with a man about 1.5 years ago who was an older man. So he was definitely set in his ways, but he had a lot of health conditions and really needed help. And in our first session together, he told me that he drinks 6 Diet Cokes a day. And one of them he would drink on the way to the gym. And when we talked more and more about the diet soda and all of his habits surrounding that, he actually fought me on how it wasn't bad for him. And how having diet soda was not a problem. Maybe other things he did was a problem, but not that. And that, to me, sort of encompasses the fear that people have is, she's going to make me stop drinking my soda, and I don't want to do that.
And it's very interesting you brought that up. Just yesterday, I read a very interesting tidbit someone had posted on Facebook about Michael J. Fox and his years of endorsing Diet Pepsi and all the Diet Pepsi he drank and the connections that it has to Parkinson's, the very disease that he has, and the Michael J. Fox Foundation promotes research for, which doesn't have any of the information in that research foundation. Not to get too political on that, this we could do a whole episode on that. but just very interesting because it's so accepted and so marketed, especially with that word diet in there that you hate so much and that I hate so much, right?
Yes,
because the diet has this stigma attached to it. But just very interesting about the diet soda thing and how diet soda is actually marketed for you to think that you're doing something healthy or making a healthy change. And here's somebody not only set in his ways with it, but drinking it on the way to go work out.
Right.
Wow. You know?
Right.
But I'd like to point out a couple things about what you said about fear. You just have this incredible knack, and I can see why you're such a great coach, because you have a way of summing things up very simply and concisely, and summing it up in one word, fear, is just absolutely brilliant. People are nervous about change. People fear change. You hear it all the time, but we don't really acknowledge it. And well workers, especially you chiropractors out there, but any of you wellness professionals, if you could really see that people fear the change and that change is a real big deal for people, and getting them away from what was their thing that they've been clinging on to is not such an easy task, and you're not a failure if you can't take it away from them right away. In fact, you'd probably be more successful if you don't, but if you understand that fear, you'll understand how much hand-holding they'll need, you'll understand what protocols you'll need to do to get them through that change. And that's why someone like Tracey comes in handy, and why I've been advocating in the chiropractic profession that A, you start becoming more of a coach, or B, you work with someone like Tracey to coach your patients as well, because it's not just about the advice you're giving. It's not just about, oh, well, here's how you sleep at night, here's how you sit on the couch, here's how you get in and out of the car. It's also about, here's how you live life. Here's how you cope with the stress. Yes, we're going to heal from the adverse effects of stress, and we're going to fix your back, and we're going to fix your neck, and all that great stuff, and we're going to eliminate those headaches, but they're just going to come back if you can't get the person to make a lifestyle change. And that is exactly what Tracey does. So we get frustrated with that. Don't get frustrated. Just realize what you're looking at and act accordingly. And when people tell you it's about the money, we all have the foresight to realize it's never about the money, but we do accept it sometimes, and we back off and we don't persist with the person. And it's really, if you can just persist through it, you'll find out it's not about the money. So don't. It's never about the money, and it's always about getting the person well no matter what it takes and no matter how long it takes. And Tracey, back me up on this. It takes an incredible amount of persistence with people, whether you're selling them or coaching them or otherwise.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because, again, you have to break through that wall of fear. And there's so much that they're fearful of. They don't even know. They don't even know what the possibilities are. Will I be able to follow through? What is she going to make me do? You know, what is she going to take away from me? How is it going to change my life? And, you know, I do a lot of coaching around confidence as well, because you have to have the confidence and be so strong to say to your significant other, your family, your friends, your coworkers, this is what I'm doing. I don't have to explain myself. This is just what I'm doing. And there's such stigma around you being the healthy one in your group of friends. People will look at you differently. They'll judge you. I find it really interesting when I eat out with people, with friends, and I'm not a judgmental person at all. You know, if you're not a client of mine, you go and you eat and you do. But I find it very interesting when people will say, oh, I'm going to get the fries tonight, or I'm going to get, you know, the dessert, as if I'm judging them. And I'm not. And people need to feel that inner confidence and know that it's okay, A, if you're trying to change your habits and change your lifestyle to be healthier. It's also okay if you want to indulge.
Yeah.
And I do just want to go back and sort of touch on just really quickly, the name of my business is exactly how I believe everyone, unless you're in danger of heart disease or diabetes, to live your life.
Absolutely.
You should indulge sometimes, and you should have balance.
And from what I remember from some of our past conversations, I think your friends bust your chops on that a little bit, don't they?
They do. They do.
It's indulging.
Yeah, well, it goes both ways. It's better now. When I first started coaching, it was a lot of, well, what are you eating today? Will you share? You know, what kind of diet are you on now? Which I always thought was interesting. And it was, guys, this is not a diet, it's a lifestyle. And now it's really interesting because when I do want to indulge, and believe me, I do, I'm really open about that part of my life. And you know, I love French fries. It's very real for me. Yeah. Among other delicious treats. And, you know, people will, oh, look what you're having. And it's tough because you do feel the spotlight on you.
That's right.
only helps me realize what others feel too.
No set of good deeds goes unpunished.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Here's something I want to ask you. My field is chiropractic. It always has been. Chiropractors saved my life. And, of course, I've expanded it to modern wellness professionals. But chiropractors specifically tend to have a little difficulty with retaining people, getting people through their entire program, hanging on long enough past the point of where the person feels a little relief and they feel better. They tend to want to jump ship at that point. And perhaps it has a little to do with relating to people's actual lifestyles. And maybe this ties in a little bit to the change, the fear of change that you were talking about. But what would you say to them on how to approach handling something like that when you're dealing with people and keeping them on the straight and narrow path?
Yeah, well, I think that it's very important to tell your patients, whether you're a health coach patient or a chiropractic patient or otherwise, that your ultimate health and wellness does not happen overnight. And so, especially in the case of a chiropractor, you may have a patient that comes in, they get adjusted once, and they feel amazing. And you've just sort of saved the day, right? They had this pain, and the pain is now gone. But the pain will likely come back because it probably came from something that they're doing all the time. Maybe not every time, but a lot of the times that's the case. It's something that's been brewing, and maybe it's the way they sit at their desk or their chair or how they sleep or what have you. And in the same way, I would say for my clients, they might have an awesome week, and they might lose a few pounds, and their digestive system clears up, and they sleep better. But the minute that they go back, it all comes back. And so what I'm getting at is that it takes time to reach that goal. I mean, we're always working towards an ultimate feeling of health, but it takes a lot of time and persistence and dedication to keep yourself on track. And so if you just come in for 1 session, 2 sessions, 5 sessions, it's almost always not enough. And it doesn't mean you have to come every week or every day, but you need to keep some sort of consistency with having, in my case, the support and accountability. And in the case of chiropractors or other wellness professionals, it's knowing that your health is unfortunately going to backtrack if you don't give it upkeep. You can give the example of your car needs to get, the tires have to get checked and the oil has to get checked. Your car just can't run forever. You have to fuel it up every once in a while. You can even use the gas example that after a couple days on the road, you have to go back to the pump. And so I think that it's important to explain that to your clients and your patients, but again, not being salesy, which my way of working with my clients is I'm their cheerleader. I think you had said that at the beginning, but that's how I like to be. I sort of like to be your friend, but I never want to cross that line. Maybe you don't want to be my friend, but I would like to be your friend. And I mean, the way I'm talking to you is the way I talk to them. It's very honest and very real, but very friendly. I'm not a drill sergeant. I don't want to scare anyone away. I want them to see that you have to keep fueling your body and continuing that education and understanding of what's right for you. And I would say the same for other healthcare professionals as well, is just really trying to get them to see the bigger picture. And it's not all about the right here, right now. That, my leg hurts, my arm hurts, my neck hurts, I need an adjustment, thanks, I'm out. Yeah.
Amen. No, outstanding assessment of that. And well, workers, I really want you to take something away from this as well, because on one hand you could say, oh yeah, I've done the car analogy to death, but really listen to what Tracey's saying here. And I'm not just saying listen to what Tracey's saying, I'm saying listen to Tracey, because something she said really struck me, and that is being honest, real, and friendly. And she's just being with her coaching clients exactly how she's being here with you and me. And that is something that's very important, and that is something that I hold true in my expertise. When I'm out there doing screenings and getting people motivated to take that next step, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not being fake. I'm not being salesy and whatever. And the same thing goes internally. Now, we talked about this in earlier installments of the Sunday Morning Hustle and my other coaching calls that I do, my sales seminar that I do, that selling is a process that has to be done at every stage of the game. And in fact, practically every visit, you have to sell the person on coming back for the next visit. But it doesn't mean it's a pitch every time, and it doesn't mean it's fake. There's stigma attached to sales, folks, just like everything else. There's stigma attached to it, and the stigma is sales is a bad thing. No, sales is being honest, open, friendly, and caring. And it is a process by which you convince somebody to do something that's going to help them, not something that's going to harm them or give them something they don't need or give them a lose or whatever. It's something to help them win. And if you're really sincere and you just apply one word, care, you're going to get it. And she gave you a killer piece of advice here, just in the word cheerleader. And I can already tell, sign me up, Tracey. I want to be with Kale with a side of fries right now because I want to have you in my corner, And docs, you should be, at the end of the episode, make sure you take down Tracey's info because this is someone you want to work with and have coach your patients as well. And that's something I want to get into, Tracey. I just want to ask you briefly sort of what types of professionals you work with, because today is about integrative care. In fact, about a year or so ago, I saw an amazing TED lecture. I don't remember who the lecturer was talking about integrative care, and this is where integrative medicine is where the world is going. And it was one of the most brilliantly done lectures. I guess if you go to TED Talks and you search integrative medicine, you'll probably find the talk that I'm talking about. But the fact that super specialization isolates so many parts of the body that you seldom get to look at the whole picture, and that's never one thing. And a therapy like chiropractic or like some of the nutritional coaching that Tracey gives or any one of those things could be very effective in conjunction with other things, but taken independently, you could try each and every one ad infinitum and never come up with anything that does anything for you. So a more holistic approach. So Tracey, what I'd like to know is what types of medical professionals or health or wellness professionals is ideal to work with a coach like you?
So I always sort of say that I am the middleman between leaving your doctor's office and Google. And so I'm sort of that person that will hold your hand on either side. Yeah. And the folks that tend to be great partners for me are certainly chiropractors and acupuncturists and personal trainers, which I think seems fairly intuitive, right? It's all kind of under this holistic health umbrella. Mm-hmm. But I would also say that cardiologists, I even work with some dental groups right now because the connection between your oral care and your heart health is so connected.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's so important. And so even though you don't think that the dentist is going to tell you to get a health coach, but it's incredibly important that if your dentist is talking to your cardiologist, which in many cases is what's happening, that's where I can come in. And cardiologists have been a wonderful resource for me lately because there's one thing about the way we look on the outside. Whether you're overweight or even if you're regular weight or if you're underweight, whatever you are, if you don't know what's going on under the hood, to go back to the car example, then it's almost irrelevant, right? We can try for optimal wellness, but you have to know what's going on. And so when you go get your stress test and you go get your dental appointment, those are wonderful resources for me because, like I said, I can help you. As you walk out, you might get a diagnosis of diabetes or high cholesterol, and instead of going home and Googling like a crazy person, that's where I can come in and be that support.
Wow, I can tell you're going to feel right at home amongst our audience here. What a mouthful on that. First of all, chiropractors are our main crowd here, but, even down someone like a massage therapist, anyone who deals with people who are having issues, right? Any kind of physical issues, whatever. I can definitely see the cardiologist. And by the way, dental, I have dental clients. We deal with dentists. I don't care if you own a gym and you're listening. You own a health club or something like that, and you have personal trainers there. People are going to have lifestyle changes that need to be made that don't fall within your professional skill set or expertise, and you need a professional who's going to help do that. And I really see how you are the middleman. I like how you describe that between Google and your office.
And I will say, as someone who's been to a chiropractor for probably over half my life, I love the chiropractic community. And I think one thing that I've learned for myself is that I know what I know, and I'm good at what I do, and I love what I do, but I don't do everything. And so being able to have, wonderful partners that I can refer my clients to is the best thing because I don't do everything, and I don't know how to do everything, and I don't ever want to pretend to do that.
Yeah.
So just a little shout out to chiropractors because
absolutely.
you guys have saved me.
Yeah, Kairos, don't you love this girl? Do you see what I'm saying here? So how can you not work with her after that? Tracey, tell me one thing. We're coming toward the end of the episode here, and I have a final question for you. But, being a doctor right now is certainly not the same as it used to be. I can say without a doubt, and I'm sure you probably can experience a little bit of what that would be like for a doctor in this day and age and climate. What would you say is the value of coaching the way you do as to keeping a balance between, let's say, changes that need to be made in a person's life versus the changes which are desirable and undesirable to them?
Ooh, well, I would say that most change is not desirable, right? I think most change brings up that fear unless you're choosing it completely on your own, not because your doctor has told you to, not because you're unhealthy or extremely overweight or unwell. If you're a person who just decides one day to start being healthier, that's a different kind of person, right? That's a different angle of this question. And I think that when you get a diagnosis, any kind of diagnosis from a doctor, it's terrifying. And not knowing, even if it's, by the way, you have a gluten intolerance, you have celiac, that's terrifying for somebody who's been eating bread for their entire life. And so it doesn't matter what kind of diagnosis it is, but I also think, and I've learned this with my own health, is that having a team of people in place that aren't just your clinical medical doctors is really important. And that's what I've done for myself. I have a team, and I remember hearing another wellness professional say this years ago about her team, and I loved that. And so I sort of started drawing in people to have my own team of people for me that can sometimes go up against my medical doctors, because I think it's really important that you have, second opinions, of course, but opinions from different angles. And so that is what I would sort of say, because it is really different, the medical field, especially when it comes to nutrition. But again, I love having my feet in both worlds, both professionally and personally. And so having that medical doctor, absolutely. Do they tell you to go on medicine? If you need it, absolutely. But maybe check in with a functional medicine doctor or a health coach or your acupuncturist or your chiropractor, whoever it might be that's on your team about whatever the particular thing is. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I guess you could say you're sort of a medium between realms, And if you think about it, Will workers, when you talk about invading someone's personal space, you do have to invade privacy in our profession, and that is where a coach comes in. And I could see you, Tracey, as sort of a medium between those realms. Tracey, what I love about what you do is it really illustrates what I've been preaching for so many years in my coaching, because I believe that no script or no marketing method or system is going to convince anybody to do anything. In this realm here, what's going to convince them is you getting out of your own head and out of your own way and getting into the head of the other person, getting into the life of the other person and understanding it from their point of view. And that is your superpower, Tracey. Your superpower is being able to see things from people's point of view, and having that, you always know exactly what to do, and that's what makes you a true professional. And folks, that's exactly why you need someone like Tracey to help bridge that gap. I mentioned that TED Talk that I saw, and that was one of the things about integrative medicine. They talked about a team of doctors working together. I have a guest that I've been begging to come on the show. I've been working back and forth, and we will get her on in the next few episodes. Her name is Valerie Lumley, and she is a professional opera singer who was floored and sidelined by fibromyalgia. She got chronic fibromyalgia in the middle of her career, had to quit doing opera. She has a book about her travails, and it's called Curing Fibromyalgia. Valerie Lumley, highly recommend the book. Very inspirational, but she talks about how she dropped the medical model and put together her own team of professionals on her own, took the initiative, and put together a team of professionals who then cured her chronic fibromyalgia. Yes, cured it. And this can be done, folks. It's yet possible. Yeah, absolutely, Tracey. I mean, and I'm sure you see those kinds of transitions every single day, the things that are said to be impossible. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And I do see those every day, which is my favorite part of what I do.
Exclamation point.
Yes.
And now for the last word. Who gets the last word? I do. After all, it's my show. What should you take away from today's episode? If anything, I'd like you to take to heart one thing, that the world is different and so are people. They don't respond to the same old model. And though we're innovators of wellness, we sometimes lose sight of people, not of their ailments, their diseases or illnesses, not of the right way to treat them and restore the power of innate intelligence, but to recognize them as unique individuals with lives and stories of their own, with likes and dislikes, with desires, hopes, dreams, and even tolerances and unique realities. People don't want a doctor to be a teacher anymore, but a coach. They want to know what they can do on their own, and that's a good thing, because that means they're also more responsible for their health than ever, just not in the way you might think. By coaching them, you're getting them to work with you, just in the way you always imagined patients would, with patience to take them through a process and not just a sterile mechanical treatment program. You will be establishing relationships and not just professional associations. And this is what lifetime patients are made of, the kind that want to help others and refer to. Coach the people in your community, and they will look to you as their beacon in the fog that is modern-day wellness. I know you can achieve it just as Tracey did with Kale with a side of fries. You can be you with a side of understanding and win too. And that is what I wish for you. Tracey, this has been Kale with a side of awesome. Okay, I just want you to know that.
Thank you, Frank.
Absolutely.
Really, really fun for me, too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really had fun. This is an episode I've been really looking forward to for a long time, and it was totally worth all the schedule tag we played over the last few weeks since I met you. So much value in what you said, and I know that this is a killer episode that's going to get a lot of listens, so thank you again. This is the time of the show where I usually try to put my listeners in touch with you, and Will Workers, I want you to get in touch with this guest, this specific guest. You should reach out to her. Because if you don't have the capacity to coach in your practice, you need to hook up with Tracey right now and let her tell you how you guys can work together and even boost your patient retention at the same time. So let's talk how to actually personally contact you. What is the best way?
The best way is my email, which is Tracey, Tracey, at kalewithasideoffries.com.
And obviously also your website, kalewithasideoffries.com.
Yes.
And I do follow you. Tracey is on Instagram, Kale with a side of fries, and she is on Twitter. And if you want to follow her tweets, they are quite enjoyable, KWSOF, and Tracey, you'll have to live up to that now that I said it live here. And Facebook is also Kale with a side of fries, so you've made it very, very easy for everyone.
Yes, that's the goal.
And you will be able to find the information on this episode at willwork4patients.com/Kale with a side of fries. We're just going to keep it easy. So willwork4patients.com/Kale with a side of fries for all the information and Tracey's contact information and any other information about her that I can cram on there. I will do, including some of the references we made in this episode. I will even try to get a reference for that TED Talk, if I can, into the show notes there. So thank you again. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in and listening today. I would like to make one last plug for the Sunday Morning Hustle, one last plug for this episode anyway, because I'm not going away. And you will attend at least one. So do write me at frank@screeningexperts.com for any questions. Please send in your suggestions for guests and topics. And if you want to be a guest on the show, if you think you have valuable content to add, please do. I mean, I bump into guests in the strangest of places. I went to an arbitrary B&I meeting, and you folks know accidents don't happen in my life, right? Here I am with Kale with a side of fries, and it's Frank with a side of Tracey today. So very, very awesome. But do attend the Sunday Morning Hustle. Write to me, frank@screeningexperts.com. I will send you a link for the replay on demand of the premiere installment of the Sunday Morning Hustle, Moving the Story Forward. I want to help you for free move your story forward, and then I'll tell you all about our introductory 1-month trial offer to try 4 weeks of the Sunday Morning Hustle and get on and absolutely hustle and share my joy on Sunday mornings. In fact, Tracey, you're invited to attend one of them for free just for having been here. I want you to come in and maybe join some of the fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Tracey, one last time. I know I thanked you up and down, but from the bottom of my heart, this is a home run. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for enlightening my audience today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was amazing. So thanks a lot, Frank.
Awesome. You're welcome. So, my friends, we've come to the end of a supercharged episode. On behalf of myself, my staff, my guest Tracey Levy, and the rest of the Broadcast Wellness crew, I thank you so very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another ingenious episode of Will Work for Patients. So long.
Be sure to subscribe and share. Will Work for Patients has been brought to you courtesy of Screening Experts, bringing unscripted simplicity to chiropractic marketing complexity. Today's episode, copyright Screening Experts LLC, musical score composed and arranged by Frank Sardella ASCAP. For more information, visit screeningexperts.com.